Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Recording has started. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you once again for joining me and my good friend Philip here on Superconnectivity. I am, as always, your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is the blue-eyed bomber of the Burg of Pits,
Phil Podcast Perich.
Oh, podcast! So glad you joined me once again. Philip, my mind is a buzz. My thoughts are a twirl.
So it's normal week. Okay.
Yeah, well, look, there's nerdery and there's immediate revelation and there are thoughts that come through my mind. But right now, we got to talk about, we have to talk about the business at hand. And there are two big businesses we have in front of us. One is the discussion of Man-Thing, which is part of our larger arc here on the Capes and Lunatics network, discussing the mighty giant-sized Man-Thing. And I did want to discuss this both as a character in and of his own creation, and, of course, the somewhat maligned R.L. Stine series about him, which I read, and quite frankly, I don't know where all the maligning is coming from.
I wonder if, I read it for the first time today. Like, I know for some reason, I didn't think it was going to be good, but I read it. I enjoyed it, but I wonder if because it's a different take on the Man-Thing, because, like, Ted Sallis is actually aware inside the Man-Thing, and usually that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. And to me, first off, what is his name? Ted Hollis?
Sallis.
No. The Swamp Thing.
It is Hollis. What is it?
It's Hollis something. It's basically the similarities. They're quite extensive.
Yeah, it's a case of somebody was copying somebody's work. Yeah.
Well, no, as people said, sometimes you come across things all the time.
Alec Holland.
Alec Holland. Okay, so see, not even close to Ted Sallis. Yeah. But the idea that, he's alive within the thing was a standard idea. And, of course, as people have pointed out, they're all derivative of the Heap, who was a 1940s character, who was a World War I pilot who crashed into a swamp, became one with the swamp, and then, punched Nazis, because that's what you do when you're a comic book character in the 40s. Because if there's anything that just says, oh, that's something I should punch, it's a Nazi. Anyway, so I like this because, and to give everyone context, this is coming off of the great Thunderbolts run, in which the Man-Thing was a part of, which is honestly one of my favorite books, just in general. Just like if you say, oh yeah, the Luke Cage Thunderbolt run, I'm going to say, yeah, that is actually one of my favorite books. It's just a great series. It's about Luke Cage and these Thunderbolts that he has together, sort of making do and and working through the fact that none of them necessarily want to be evil per se, except for possibly Mr. Hyde. but they all certainly want to not be told what to do for a living.
The various iterations of Thunderbolts, I always enjoy because I think, except for that very first one where it's like, oh, they're really bad guys. Every other version, I think they kind of do the Suicide Squad formula better than the Suicide Squad does for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue that, and I think that is the thrust of the story. I mean, that's the thing, because that's the thing about the Thunderbolts is I don't think they ever have a suicide bomb in anyone's head.
Oh, no.
It's all like, do this because if you do run away,
we'll knock some time off your sentence.
Yeah, well, no, but it's just like, we have like 800 superheroes that are like all ready to pounce you down within 15 minutes of you getting away. And we're not going to do it with like the worst of you,
Yeah.
It's like, we've got the Hulk on retainer. So if you really want to try and cause a problem, you better leave the atmosphere.
Or two, I mean, there was eras like the Hawkeye era where it was just like, some of these people wanted to reform.
Well, yeah, and when that was the thing, is like that I think is the real crux of the super villain community, is that a lot of these guys were just schlubs who suddenly were like, hey, I'm a schlub, but I'm a criminal because that's the only option available to me because I am a schlub.
Yeah,
it's like the Rhino was a big, strong guy, or my favorite Man Mountain Marco was a big, strong guy, and he got the juice because he was in the mob. But the fact of the matter is like, it's not like he chose the mob because he was a villain or a super villain. It was because he chose the mob because that was where the work was. And he didn't have any powers he didn't have anything to set him aside as a special. And suddenly you get these powers, and you're like, well, I could really literally do anything. I don't have to be a supervillain. As I always say, my favorite line in the original handbook to the Marvel Universe was always that, because this person had this power and they lacked imagination, they immediately turned to robbing banks as the best way to utilize this power. Which is, and I think that it perfectly encapsulates the Marvel Universe.
I mean, even certain guys like Doom, it's like, well, what's Doom's plan usually 99% of the time? Steal somebody's power. I mean, Doom's not that imaginative.
No, he's not. That's his problem. I mean, a little teaser for our big Patreon special this weekend. Doom is just as dumb no matter how smart they make him. He is really just, does
a high IQ really help you if you have no imagination?
Well, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, I can do math really fast. Which is one of the things I wanted to say that to Jed last night. Was like, well, because I wanted to really nerd on him at that moment when he says, like, Black Cat doesn't worry about complex algebra. She worries about getting from point A to B. It's like, well, technically, when you're doing all those, that's a lot of complex algebra that her brain is doing as she's doing those backflips. But
my point. I'm like, there's a little bit of higher thinking there. Yeah.
No. Well, that's the thing. Well, that is there was a great phrase I once heard, which was that, you can build a robot to try and shoot free throws, and that actually a human will always, that basically Michael Jordan will always shoot free throws better than a robot. Because he's just really good. Or we'll say Larry Bird, to not give John Henry comparisons. But Larry Bird will always shoot free throws better than a robot. Because the robot is trying to shoot a free throw, but can't do the really complex math or have the sensory input to do the complex math. that Larry Bird is doing when he's bouncing that ball and he's feeling the breath of every person in the audience and seeing every angle to shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'd think that would be a thing that a machine could do very easily. Actually, it's a lot harder than it looks.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, moving right along.
Anyway, the man thing.
So R.L. Stine, he got kind of, and I think maybe there was that backlash because he was R.L. Stine, children's book Arthur.
Yeah.
He started off with Man-Thing in Hollywood. And also Man-Thing aware of himself as Ted Sallis. But at the same time, like we said, I don't think that was a big stretch. Coming off of the Thunderbolts run, Man-Thing could speak, Man-Thing could empathize, and Man-Thing could be an active character.
Yeah.
And the immediate thought for any writer would be, well, he should remember he was Ted Sallis.
Mm-hmm.
He should remember who he was. And that starts him on his adventure. And that's fun, especially in the sense that he's like trying to say, hey, I'm a superhero too, kind of like Howard the Duck. Which, again, if you have any respect for Man-Thing, you're going to acknowledge his history with Steve Gerber and that entire world,
mm-hmm.
and say, you know what? Okay, yeah. He's gonna say, hey, I hear there's work for superheroes out in Hollywood. Let me get on the truck and get over there. You know?
And again, it's a different iteration of the Man-Thing, but it's like, it makes sense. I mean, he's been the Man-Thing for how many years? You know, his brain could start to put itself back together. And two, it's like, you know, guys like the Hulk in that. How many different iterations of the Hulk have we had?
Well, yeah, and the Hulk has always gone between, you know, I mean,
Smart
they've even had completely grunting Hulks.
Yeah. And then there's ones who thought they were Banner. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all the Hulks are a mess. But the Man-Thing, I guess people felt like, oh, the Man-Thing shouldn't go Hollywood. And to be fair, Banner never went Hollywood.
And I mean, it wasn't even like the whole 5 issue. It was like the first issue he was in Hollywood.
No, it was literally like the first 3 pages until he gets fired.
Exactly.
And they say, yeah, you know, I'm sorry, man. There's like just not a market for a Man-Thing Hollywood story. Which is, for what it's worth, a delightful little meta-commentary. Again, keeping with the origins of the character. A delightful meta-commentary on the fact that the Man-Thing, because there was a Man-Thing series that never quite took off. And I will tell you this, as the deep-hearted Marvel fan I am, I have yet to see the Man-Thing series. I don't even know if Ted Sallis is in it. Which tells you how obscure of a piece of art that is. But he comes back. He goes back to, well, he winds up back in Florida.
Yeah, it doesn't like a portal open up and he gets like sucked in. And
Nexus of all realities, and he is. And this again ties back to the reality of the. This is the thing. Here's what I'm going to say. Anything you want to say about it, I think R.L. Stine did his research and said, okay, so how do I want to play this character? Now that he has some sense of consciousness, but he is also the nexus of reality. He was an evolving nexus of reality in the last time we saw him in Thunderbolts. And now we're going to tell a story of him as sort of the slightly more evolved nexus. And he comes into this moment. And he, of course, and again, maybe like Alan Moore once said, was that it was not Alec Holland, it was a mass of trees that taught itself to be Alec Holland. Maybe this is just the mass of vegetation that taught itself to be Ted Sallis, but regardless, it thinks it's Ted Sallis. And to quote Howard the Duck, that's real enough for him. You know, it's like it's real to me. Whatever you want to say about it, whatever you want to say that it's not real or is real or it's this or that or the other, I just want you to know it's real to me. And, you know, so Ted Sallis is working through his troubles. He goes into he gets pulled back into the swamps, then gets adventures. There's a lady who I don't think really comes back a lot. I mean, she comes back a lot, but we never really get a. In fact, I will say this about the entire series: we don't get a conclusion to this series.
I know that ending was weird. I was like, wait. I wonder if he was trying to like do another miniseries or something.
Well, he was trying to do something, but I also think that it was. Was
it a joke ending or was it like, hey, I want to do more Man-Thing?
Well, you want to know the actual answer?
Yes.
So there was a story that was a while ago where the Man-Thing regained this sense of being Ted Sallis, I believe, and also traveled on through the next realities to become something else. And then from the next realities, a new Man-Thing arose.
Ew.
So this is one of these weird little it's super obscure stories. So I think the idea is that maybe the Man-Thing you see now is the Man-Thing. Maybe it's the boy thing. Maybe it's whatever we want to do because it's fictional stories and we're going to tell whatever we're going to want to tell. But in this moment, what we have here is he winds up in, and it's an interesting idea. For what it's worth, the two portals open up. One leads back to 616. One leads back to another world. In one universe, Ted Sallis goes in, and it's a universe where everyone's a Man-Thing.
Yes.
And then he's just like, oh. And everyone says, hey, ugly. Basically, he's got his unkempt hair. And I guess that's a way to look at it. It's like, hey, how come you don't comb your moss, my friend? You're some crazy hobo hillbilly coming into our world? So that's an interesting take on it, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I did like the old father character. I don't know if he existed before this. I feel like he should have.
I know there was a Marvel Tales Me and Lilith covered where there was like it was Jennifer Kale and like some sorcerer guy. I don't think he was called the Allfather, but I'm not sure if it was supposed to be him or a version of him, but
yeah, well, it was called the Old Father.
Old Father, yes.
The Old Father is the
force
of order in human society. Mm-hmm. You know, the personification of human order. Which, again, you know, and not for nothing, just to tie back into that thing that Jed MacKay said, or that Jed MacKay wrote, even though he didn't know he wrote it. Because that's how writing works. You know, that's how it's like you write a thing, and then everyone's like, oh, so what you're saying is everything is tied into this and this and this. Like, what? No, I wrote a story. It's like, no. You see, all the stories are one story. And so we've all seen how they all tie together.
Well, especially when you write as much as him, you're like, oh, he's like, oh yeah, I didn't have 2 seconds to think of it that way.
Well, you know, but see, that's the thing. To me, that's what writing is. It's like we're writing these stories, we're telling these tales, and everything plays out. And You know, but the thing is that certain logical. So this is just a weird thing about how I visualize writing. Is I always visualize writing as these gears and these slots falling into gears. Like you can't go here because the gears don't move that way. So as you move through the gears, everything has to follow its through. Um, so like it's like you can't write a story and not have every story ever written before it influence it, and you can't write a story and not have it influence every story that ever comes after it. So at least within the zeitgeist, but that's my theory. I don't know.
And it had nothing to do with the man thing, but what did you think of those backup stories of his, like, you know, like?
Oh, those were interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Some a little less so than others. The
Some,
one with the werewolf.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What, you really thought there were werewolves? That is just the ultimate twist ending. By the way, we have to go back to that Jed McKay interview before we post it and just like do some selective beepings.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just to keep our T+ rating, like good old man thing. Love it, but yeah. And honestly, I would never tell a guest not to swear because,
yeah,
you know, if you're on Facebook, folks, you take your chances. If it says live, you are taking all chances in a live broadcast. But, yeah, I mean, you know, these are good stories, generally speaking. Oh, the last one is such a Tales from the Crypt kind of ending, where it's like, oh, my dad, he's such a torturer, and it's like, but all the overstatements that are made says, oh no, my dad rips everyone's heads off. It's like, no, I don't mind at all, because next week you're coming to my family's house. And here's what I'll say, obviously, is that as we discuss these things, well, clearly I'm not going to your family's house because you said your dad rips people's heads off. And I don't believe I could survive that. We just torture you here, sir. We are a respectable family. We torture people. We do not rip their heads off. Thank you and good day. I said good day, sir. And so, but it's a delightful ending and delightful little twist. And that Shyamalan-esque twist. You know, the button I give will be to someone who I guarantee does not know you. Which is still, I will say, despite the writer's insistence, the better answer to the button story. This is all obscure nerd lore. You'd have to have read 5 Wikipedias to know what I'm talking about. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about comic books, Phil. Unless you want to talk about Man Thing some more.
No. Come on, Lilith. Let's talk some comics. Yeah.
Let's talk some comics. Let's talk Iron Man number 17.
Oh, my. I have thoughts on this.
Give me your thoughts, because I just want to punch him. Quite frankly, yeah. I'm like...
That works into my theory. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, Tony Stark is, you know, still trying to change the world with this new cosmic found powers, and he's basically killing his friends. Okay. What I'm thinking is, I mean, we know Tony Stark has an addictive personality. What if he's addicted to this power?
Gee, good. I'm sorry, my nose. It's being hit so much right now. Yeah, no, dude, you are totally drunk
with power.
I'm surprised no one pointed that out. It's like, you know, Tony, I kind of feel like you're drunk on power. Maybe you need to pour that bottle out.
Mm-hmm.
And for real, they totally call it out. I mean, Rhodey called it, and Rhodey, the moral center, calls it out.
Oh yeah.
and says, "Dude, you always had power. You never were without power. You had
Yeah.
money, and then you had tech, and then
Mhm.
you had everything, and it was always just, oh, I will be this." It's like, dude, you never were. Basically, the real call out here is that Tony, even with all the power in the universe, you still make things worse because you're a jerk. And I love you like a brother, but quite frankly, if anyone should be in charge, it should not be you. Because you are bad at everything you do except making money and bombs. Thank you.
I
Um,
mean, shouldn't you know that something's wrong when even Doom is like, "Hey, you need to take a second and breathe, kid, and think about this."
yeah, I will give it this much. This is the one thing I will give this issue. We call it Doom as a Betty Dabbler. And then we atomize him. Because Doom, we're just tired of it. You know, because even though this whole thing is Doom does not carry napkins, it's like 5 minutes, Doom. We're just trying to build a team. Can you be a team for 5 minutes?
I love those
Is that
lines.
beyond your capability? And it's like you kind of get the idea with Doom that if he actually could be a team for 5 minutes, he could be super successful. He could actually do great if he could just for 5 minutes not be a a complete wastrel. You know, and that is what I will say. He's a wastrel as much as Bruce Wayne. Bruce
Oh,
Wayne may wastrel as a drunkard in the party scene, but Doom is as much a wastrel in his courtly politics. And that is the thing. It's like, you know, being a privileged wastrel is not the goal for a superhero. I said it. Any other thoughts on that episode, Phil?
no.
Okay. Do you want to talk Amazing Spider-Man number 60?
You mean 90?
90. I don't know what way numbers face, Philip. Why are you giving me trouble? But it's on the .bea. It's not a .bay. I do not know how I feel about Goblin Queen. The only thing I know about is that clearly Max Power is the villain.
Oh yeah.
In her white jumpsuit, like another Beyonder we know.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know if she's a Beyonder. That's the thing. I wanted to ask Chad about that, but I was like, man, that is just so deep nerdy. They may have told him that they're all Beyonders, and he doesn't even remember. You know, I don't know, man.
I'm just very curious to see what when this is all said and done, what form Ben Riley's going to take. Because I mean, they're messing with his memories, and yeah, I mean, just he's like you said, there's holes in there, and if they rebuild his mind, what form is he going to take when it's all said and done with?
You know what's going to happen? Otto's going to give him the old upload.
Maybe.
I mean, that's the thing about it is that Otto's the one who is, because it's Otto's technology.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was mad about. It's like, you are using my freaking mind framework technology to build these things. You know, and that's the thing about it. It's like Otto's like, dude, you're doing it poorly. You know. these frameworks are a thing, and well, we can build like parallel levels. Oh, this is one of the things I found very interesting.
Hmm.
When he says, "Remember what they took," and he's looking at the inside of his mask,
Oh yeah.
and you see the little like shadow tendrils going there.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing with Marvel. They have built out this really complex cosmology that likewise includes a lot of dark entities. And who is seeping in from the beyond as a dark entity, we don't necessarily know. It worries me, Philip. It worries me.
Mm-hmm.
You got a book you want to talk about?
Probably didn't read it, but I was telling Lilith last night. There was a new Ghost Rider #1 out this week. I kind of like it. They kind of go back to basics a little bit, but with a twist.
Who's the Ghost Rider?
Johnny Blaze.
Oh, we're already back to Johnny.
Yeah. I mean, he wakes up. I mean, it seems like he's living the perfect life. His wife and kids are alive again, and he's in therapy. To deal with like these visions and just these.
So he's not King of Hell anymore.
No, it seems like he's living this idyllic life, but then at the end, it turns out like the wife, the kids, the whole town are basically like demons. So I don't know if he's stuck in hell or some pocket of something, but some dark magician or something they don't even explain who he is. Basically, wakes the Ghost Rider up, and the Ghost Rider's not happy.
Yeah, he was happier in hell.
Yeah, and because I guess I don't know if supernatural occurrences have like bad stuff has been going on while the Ghost Rider's been locked away, not dispensing justice. So,
aren't there 2 other Ghost Riders?
Dan catches. There were the last Ghost Rider series, which they kind of ended abruptly. He was rocking another entity. It wasn't like a Ghost Rider. It was like something else.
I think Robbie's still a member of the Avengers.
Robbie's in the multiverse. Yeah, he's traveling the multiverse. He's not even on Earth right now. So.
Oh, he's in the multiverse now.
Well, in that Avengers Forever stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I guess we're short on Ghost Riders. Got to go back to the OG.
Well, yeah, I wonder too if if we get a Ghost Rider appearance in the MCU, like say in the Doctor Strange movie, is it going to be Johnny Blaze?
No.
It
will be Robbie. There's a very specific reason why it will be Robbie. First off, because if they bring back Robbie, it will cement a lot of AOS fans to the continuity of AOS. It will avoid the problem of people being mad that they replaced Robbie with Johnny. And even if Johnny is an older, and that is established in AOS timeline, you won't have this problem of people saying, oh, they just brought in, especially if they bring in Nick Cage. If they bring in Nick Cage for it, that's going to have, honestly, that's just going to explode. That's more trouble than Disney wants to deal with. So if they bring a Ghost Rider in, it will be Robbie. Maybe it won't be Robbie from AOS, but it'll be a Robbie. But I think most likely it'll be Robbie from AOS. And that is just because that is the path of least resistance. And as we always know, money follows the path of least resistance. But anyway, so yeah. So he's been awoken from his slumber, and now he has to fight some demons.
Well, you have to figure out who locked him in this, this illusion, and use the memory of his dead wife and kids against him. Yeah.
Well, I mean, given that he was king of hell, and now someone else is trying to be king of hell,
I was going to say,
I'm going to guess it's Mephisto confirmed.
It might be. It could be. Or is that too
I don't
obvious?
even know if Satanish is still working in this universe. I don't know. What was the last time we actually saw Satanish?
I don't know. Yeah, they used to have like many different versions of the devil.
Yeah, well, they had Satanish, and Satanish. The last time we saw Satanish was in the Patsy Walker. At least the last time I saw Satanish was in the Patsy Walker Hellcat series, in which it was revealed that Satanish was actually birthed out of Dormammu, and that actually Damien Hellstrom was the son of Dormammu.
Yeah.
And the Dark Dimension.
Huh.
But everything within the Patsy Walker Hellcat series is up for question because it was created by dark demon lords to convince Patsy Walker. So, because that was the one where we met Bobby Morse, Mockingbird in Hell, where she said, I have to be here because there are things about me you do not know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And two, I mean, there was a Ghost Rider series in the mid-90s. I mean, Johnny Blaze was fighting actual Lucifer, so.
Yeah. That got retconned, although a little bit. Because, like, his friend was originally supposed to be named Jesus Christ.
Oh, no. That was back in the 70s. No, that one was
the
in the 70s. Yeah, no, there was one in the mid-2000s where, like, Lucifer came, like, he tricked Johnny into helping free him from hell, and, like, he was able to, like, Lucifer was able to, like, shoot his consciousness into, like, 666 people, and Johnny had to, like, kill each one, but every time you kill off one of Lucifer's bodies, that essence would jump into another body. So as it got closer to, like, just a few left, he was getting stronger and stronger in those bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he's fought the devil many times.
Fair enough. It's funny, if they would just use English numerology, it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be 666. It would just be like, I mean, I guess if you're doing multiplication, I guess it gets high, but SATAN, it's, S times 1 times T times 1 times N. So, it's actually going to be S times T times N, which is hopefully less than 666. So, I say that only because the actual number of the beast is 616 in the original Greek. But moving right along, Shang-Chi came out this week.
Ooh.
I'm a big fan of Shang-Chi. I like Shang-Chi. He's fighting his grandfather, who's just a real jerk. Like, if you could imagine a guy that could make Odin seem less like a jerk, it would be the grandfather elder of Tao Lao. He's just like, oh, I will kill you, daughter, and that pain will help me find your daughter, which will help me kill all the children of Fu Manchu. And they make the monster dogs to kill Fu Manchu, but they are pheromone driven, so if you put your blood on their nose, they will eat each other.
Oh, geez.
I mean, I love Fu Manchu. It's a great thing. Oh, and here we have, of course, at the very end, Brother Saber in the in the vault, and not for nothing. Why do they have to make the guardsmen jerks every time? where he's eating the poor guy's Jello. It's like, why can't they be like professionals, hired to do a job?
It always
It's like,
seems like
yeah, you get.
it always seems like there are a group of 3 or 4 of them, and only one is usually a nice guy, and the rest of them are usually jerks. Yeah.
Well, it just seems like you would choose nice people to do the. And I guess the argument is, well, in a riot, when people act up, you're gonna have to put the hammer down. But I think professional soldiers should be able to know the difference. But anyway, because the goblin dogs are out there looking for the children of what's his name, Fu Manchu. It comes looking for brother Hammer. I forget what his weapon was, but thus it goes. Thus it goes. By the way, we talked Spider-Man, right? Yeah, we talked.
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you have a book you want to talk about?
No, I'm good. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I've got 4 books. Ms. Marvel was actually really interesting because it does deal with some lore about like destroying universes, which arguably ties into the idea of reclaiming Beyonderish power. So there's something there that's going on. She's got like a single white female friend who is like stealing her identity to eat food. Meanwhile, Ms. Marvel is like keeps on feeling dizzy and hungry when she's using her powers. I really hope they're not moving her to, now I have energy manipulation powers to do this. Rather than moving my body, I just move energy. Because that would be lousy and stupid and sucky, but, it's easier for the CGI.
And you know what? How it could even be worse. They might be like, oh, we thought you were always an Inhuman, but you're actually not an Inhuman.
No, don't even start that. That's... I'm rubbing my head. I'm rubbing my forehead.
I was going to say, how many times were Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver not Magneto's kids, then they were Magneto's kids, then they were not Magneto's kids.
Yeah. And yeah, in the movies, they've always been like, yeah, you're good enough for good. Phoenix Song was fun. I haven't read the issues in between this and like the first couple I read. But plotline. Evil trickster god trying to erase things from history. The Forge shows up because he's gonna help out. And there's an ad for X-Men. Because it's a Marvel book, so there's an ad for X-Men. Eventually, Echo tricks the adversary into his ancestral line because it's one other person's power. It's complex. He opens up her ancestral line, which allowed the adversary to kill all of Echo's ancestral line. So she opens the adversary's ancestral line and then just kills him in the past, which solves the problem, apparently. So, it was enjoyable. I'll give it that. Okay, I have only my indie books left, Phil.
Okay.
Do you have an indie book you want to pitch before I get into these?
No, go ahead. Should throw it out.
Department of Truth. It's too complex to explain. Lee Harvey Oswald gets high and there's boobs. So, you might like it. Honestly, it's a good book. It's fun. It's a good read. But yeah, it's very
trippy.
I exist. I don't exist. Am I a myth? I don't know. What do I exist as? And it opens up an interesting question for the character of Lee Harvey Oswald.
Who am I?
Was Lee Harvey Oswald ever a real person? Or was he a myth created for a story?
Ooh.
Or was he both? He was once a real person, but then the myth affected his humanity and changed who he would be. And that is the more complex and possibly more destructive story that we will be exploring. Because this is definitely a filler issue of the Department of Truth, and I've already dropped. And so I have to look up which issue it is. Hey, Tris, do me a favor. Pick it up and hand it to me so I can see what it is, since it fell below the desk. Yeah, pick that up. Department of Truth. Ah, it fell again. Issue. Not 30. It's 30 years of Image Comics.
Which I hate when they print it like, real small.
Give me just data on the cover.
Give me a corner box.
This is why I loved, say what you will, but like the little box in the right-hand corner that says, here's who's in it.
Yes.
Here's the issue number.
Floating heads, issue number, and price. Yes.
Yeah, but now, no, we're artsy. See how artsy we are. And this is cover A, apparently.
Oh,
so I get that information at least.
let me see.
It's a nice cover, but
Here, if I look it up by the month, I'm probably fine.
Oh, there it is, 16.
Oh, 16 already.
Issue 16. Yeah, see, there it is, right there. See that little thing there? That's how you know.
Oh my.
Issue 16. It's a good issue. If you want to see 1960s breasts with tattoos and psychedelic mushrooms, it's a good one. But here's my pick of the week. Heathens.
Ooh.
Number 4. See here.
Nice
Aftershock
invisible.
Comics. They're real nice. See, here is an upper right-hand corner box. Let you know who's making it.
Remember where you
Let
come
you know
from.
the numbers. Here's how you know what this story is, because it says it right across the top. So Heathens issue 4. And so in Heathens issue 3, our pirate queen got killed by the leader of the Jack the Ripper gang, which is fine, but that is actually kind of secondary to everything else that happens here, because the real central plot line in this is good old Billy the Kid, who, when the cops are coming after, so those who remember the last issue, Billy the Kid got shot by the cops. Meanwhile, the prostitute is over him, and the cops are clearly being influenced by the insane Jack the Ripper cult. And then Billy grabs her his gun, even though he's shot. And he shoots both cops in the head. Because Billy, quite frankly, don't give an F. And he is going to kill these guys. Because, quite frankly, all things being equal, it's like, I know a lot of guys that'll kill a man in cold blood. But to shoot an unarmed lady? That ain't cool, man. To quote George Clooney at the end of From Dusk Till Dawn, I may be an MFer, or I may be something, but I'm not an extra bad something. And, and that is Billy the Kid here. And meanwhile, this entire story, we have this whole plot line about the Pirate Queen fighting her way through hell? Do you climb up the spire? Do you walk into the abyss? And at the same time, this is the best. So, okay, so a little side plot here is Bumpy did not kill Lucky Luciano with the cinder block like he said he did. He was just trying to trick the guy because he's trying to play this long game to get to where the Jack the Ripper the hut is. And they have a whole little side quest, which is fun. But here's my favorite part. Billy the Kid does wind up in the hellscape that our Pirate Queen does. And she's like, well, eventually I'm going to jump in here because that's the only way out. And Billy the Kid's like, yeah, I don't know. I think I'll just see if I can outlast eternity. Which is really fun. He's just like, yeah, I'm not thinking that deep about it, so I'm not going to get caught up in the nonsense of it. But honestly, The Heathens by Aftershock Comics, number 4. Please pick up the previous issues if you can. Pick up the book itself. It's a lot of fun. Stalin's in it, and that's topical. Sadly. Stalin is always topical. Okay, Philip, that's all the books I was going to talk about. Anything you want to talk about before we go?
No, I'm good.
Okay, one final item. Never mind. It's just about the enemy within and quantum clones in Star Trek. But basically, Boimler's clone has certain qualities of his existence, and Boimler has the other more dominant qualities, and each is a balance, unlike the original Turnabout Intruder where the qualities were too starkly split, and that's why those had to be reintegrated, whereas all other quantum duplication clones in transporter malfunctions actually can survive. So it actually is consistent in the longer term once you see the other points in the scale, because that is writing. A person writes something, someone else writes something, and that gives you 2 data points. And from those 2 data points, you can plot a curve. And once you can plot the curve, you know what's going on. All right, Philip. Here. I will just say this to all our friends and neighbors out there. If you would like to help out our station here at the Capes and Lunatics broadcast, why don't you go down to linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics. From that location, you can find all of our amazing merch, like this delightful Capes and Lunatics travel mug. But no one says you have to travel with it. You can drink it.
Or like Little says, no one needs to know what you're drinking.
Right at home. It is high quality aluminum covered in plastic to retain the heat, with our delightful logo of Capes and Lunatics on the exterior. It does have a no spill lid to use while traveling. But because of my beverage, I'm not traveling, so it works fine. Likewise, you can pick up our t-shirts, which I will wear in our Patreon episodes, and many other objects of your delight. Likewise, you can call our phone number 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES to leave us your thoughts on this episode or any other thing in pop culture that you want to talk about. And Philip, how can people reach you?
Well, I mean, we also have our email, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or again, we have social media for Capes and Lunatics, and Superconnectivity has its own Facebook, Twitter. Like you said, everything's at Linktree. Or you can get a hold of me personally at Nightwing PDP on Twitter. So I think you hit most of it. Kids, this Charlie Esther, not only is he an intellectual, he is a showman.
I'm trying to be. And of course, you can always write to me in the old-fashioned email way, the way mothers and fathers once did it, superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things when I feel like it, at Charlie Esther. That's CHARLIE. Yes, S-E-R. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Maz. That's the show. Thank you for coming around, folks. Please connect with us again next week. And, super connect with us next week. That's the show. That's all I got. I've been here a while. Good night.
Leave us alone, kids. We're still drunk from that Jed McKay interview. Come on.
It was fun. Watch that. Scroll up. It's great.
Episode 250 of Capes and Lunatics. You were not ready for it, kids.
No one was. Although, wait till we edit it if you're a kid, because
you're not ready for
I was uncontrollable.